Okay, great. Well, my name's Chad Jansen. I am the Director of Development for the YMCA of Greater Kansas City.
And as you've watched the execs that are actually piloting this with you, are you seeing any changes, any growth, or even just in their conversations about what the Y does?
Yeah, so old way, right? We have probably 30 different case statements and everybody's talking about something different and they're respective to their local case, which is good. But this is a very focused understanding of their signature program that's heavily subsidized that they're working on. And yes, we have seen changes. There's each one is maybe slightly different in where they are in the continuum of activating those cards. But what we've seen, I think the biggest change is one is how they articulate that message, but more than that, they're listening, right? They're having a real good conversation, listening better, I think, to that potential donor, having a more meaningful conversation. It's interesting. So I had one just recently, and this has happened a few times where the donor says, well, I want to keep that card. Mm-hmm. In fact, we had 3 cards laid out, and this potential donor went from last year, he donated a little over $2,000. We had this conversation. He said, give me those cards. I'm going to keep them. He didn't even give me an option. He loved that. And he said, count me for sure for $6,000. I'm going to check our budget and see. So he tripled his gift, just having a lunch, meaningful conversation. And this is his 2nd year of donating. So last year was his first year. So that just happened recently. But it's a strong visual aid. For one, I mean, as a visual, but I think in their mind as a donor, they get a better understanding of what that message is, and as us as staff do better.
So what do you think the biggest surprise has been?
You know, I think the true cost of the program. So for our association, there wasn't a strong cost analysis that was done on these specific programs. And so as they're going through developing this cause cards, it's a big number on the back of the card. But I love what you had said, as well as Bruce at one point, is that this is visionary. This is 3 years out. This is looking at where do we want to go. It's not status quo. It's not trying to, well, let's just do the same number so we can get where we were last year, make sure we make goal. I think that getting those numbers and a better understanding, and which is a stronger message for the community saying, wow, it does really cost a lot to run the program. I think that a lot of times our community thinks it's a smaller dollar amount because we ask for small amounts, right? $1,000 and we're satisfied.
Exactly.
Here the feeding hungry kids cause card, $200,000 over 3 years. We've never talked about that dollar amount.
So Chad, tell me about one of your favorite experiences with the cards.
Love to share with you. So interesting. I'm in a local service club, Rotary Service Club, and there's a doctor that's in there. Then I got to find out that he has a Y connection. His daughter actually works for a Y camp. So after visiting with him just shortly, I asked him I said, how about we get together and talk further about the Ys? Absolutely. He's been a doctor at a clinic that's not far from a local Y, but he's never been in the Y. Ever. And so we met at that Y. We're only going to meet, maybe I was hoping, 30 minutes would be, as doctors are busy. Gave a tour throughout the facility, and it was an hour-and-a-half conversation. So he had a lot to share and found out that he had actually deeper roots with the Y. So as we're walking around and him sharing his heart and his passion, after that was done, we sat down and I pulled out the cause cards and went through the activity that we typically do with the cause card. And he pulled out the Feeding Hungry Kids cause card. And we talked more about that and what we're doing in our programs and how we're impacting that in our community. And before I even got any further leading into the ask, he pulled up the card and he says, so what would it take for me to help you out here? How can I support you? What level does it take for me to be recognized as a supporter of your program? So I said, happy to share with you. So I equated that out, what that cost is based off of the cause cards. And again, great. He was very energized to consider that gift, and we'll be talking here soon on what that lands on. So interesting, as he was sharing in his clinic, there's 7 other doctors. One of them had been a past donor and was going to donate again this year, but we haven't been able to track him down. So I brought that up. I said, would you consider connecting with Dr. Parr? I know he wants to give, but we haven't been able to really secure that pledge card. Absolutely, I'll do that. No problem doing that. Love what you guys are doing. And then I said, so you mentioned several other doctors and what they're doing in the clinic, and you guys are working so closely together. What's your thoughts about them? So, I'll be happy to talk with all of them. So give me these pledge cards. I'm going to take them with me. And I'm happy to talk with all of them and see what we can do for you. Give me a couple of weeks and I'll get back to you. So that was about a week ago, not quite a week ago. So I mean, you just never know, right? These are all full of surprises, but what did we do? Listen, and we just gave them. So when we're walking through the facility and they see the banners and the recognition, it's not all talk about that, but it was talk about what's happening. And interesting, this was just a blessing. As we're talking about his desire, his passion for nutrition and helping, obesity and feeding hungry kids, we actually had that program going on at that exact time.
Wow.
He turned, and they weren't set up when we started the tour. And at the end of the tour, he turned, he goes, "What's this?" So I turned around, and I forgot that they were going to be set up at that time. It wasn't staged at all. And he turns, what is this? And I go, "Well, come on over here." And he got to meet the volunteers at the food station. Those are super snacks. And all laid out, so you got to be able to touch. You saw the kids eating there. I mean, it couldn't have been better. Wow. And then we walked over to the table. He pulled out the cards, shuffled those.
Wow.
And shared. And he goes, "What can I do?" So it was just a great
world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, nice.
And so not only as a donor, but also looking at partnership as well, conversations about how doctors can now come to our sites. What can we do? Can we come over and talk to your groups, your active older group, and talk to them about, blood pressure, and just went through those different things. So
the conversation really led to a much, much deeper
absolutely
conversation than it normally would have. That's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we look forward to hearing your results.
Yeah,
how everybody comes back with. Nice job.
Thanks.